Hello and welcome to Run It Back on the Raptors Republic Network. I'm Zulfi Sheikh, joined here by Kyle Ramnarayan as always. No Cody Wiles again this week, but it's for a really good reason. Cody is currently at the Raptors and Clippers game, taking care of coverage for Raptors Republic. So we're super excited for him, and obviously make sure you check out RaptorsRepublic.com after to see what Cody cooks up from that game. But we're going to take care of things here at Run It Back in the meantime. Kyle, my man, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm stunned, shocked, face wide open, also happy. So many conflicting emotions. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, for context, for people who somehow didn't realize, Kyle is not talking about the Raptors. The Raptors have not made some ridiculous trade or deal as far as where we're at the time of recording. It is about the LUKA DONCIC Anthony Davis trade, which we will touch on in just a second because what the hell just happened in the NBA. But before we do, we're going to just go to the Raptors schedule to give you a bit of a breakdown of what happened this week. And like I mentioned at the time of recording, the Clippers game is currently underway, so we don't know the result. But all in all, the Raptors did have a back and forth week. Their season best 5-game win streak did come to an end after wins against the Wizards and Pelicans were kind of shut down with a loss to the Bulls. But hey, the Raptors did get Emmanuel quickly back in that game, and we are going to talk about his return and what we thought. He missed 8 games due to injury, but now he's back. And for our video listeners on YouTube, you will see a board up that has the schedule results. But for our audio listeners, apologies on that. Just because of recording conflicts, we have to do it right now during the Clippers game. We'll get into our weekly takeaways after that. The 905 report. It has been a booming week for the 905. They're currently the top squad in the East, so it's going to be very, very fun talking about them. We're going to take a peek at next week's schedule. But like we just mentioned, we have to, and I mean have to touch on this LUKA DONCIC Anthony Davis trade between the Mavericks and the Lakers, because what in the hell, the never boring association. The NBA is the league that can't go a day without being unnecessarily dramatic. This is completely bonkers, Kyle. What do you make of this insane, historic blockbuster deal?
Bro, I was like, I don't even know. Like I was playing, okay, number one, I was playing like Valorant with my boys. The phone starts blowing up, and I'm looking at the phone. I'm like, did I just get sentineled? Did I just get?
Yeah.
I'm getting faked out right now. He's got to be hacked. And I'm looking at the trade. Lakers gave up Max Christie. I think it was like a first round, like
the 2029 first round pick.
And we know the trade at this point. And I'm just thinking in my head, why? If you're the Mavericks, why? if you're
great question.
Yeah, I understand for the Lakers, you're probably prepping for LeBron to retire after his contract ends, so that makes sense for them in that way. But overall, I don't know. And then the reports start coming out, his conditioning, and then his lack of or whatever. Like he just wasn't committed to losing weight, I guess. And they said his defense. They're saying defense matters. Overall, though, I think no matter what happens, you don't trade a guy like LUKA DONCIC. You don't trade him. Doesn't matter what. He could be 300 pounds. Just get him on P90X. I don't know what it is. He is your cornerstone of your franchise. He just dropped 70 last season. Took you to the finals last season. He is the cornerstone. And now they're saying, oh, no, we didn't see him as a future building block. We kind of want to win now. That's why we got AD. We want to win a championship. He is the championship. Like, he is the player you need. This doesn't make sense. I've tried looking at it from all angles. This doesn't make sense. Unless LUKA was unhappy and he requested the trade, then you could say, oh, yeah, we got to get him out of here. But he didn't. He was blindsided by this. AD was blindsided by this. LeBron didn't even know about this trade even happening. So my mind is just blown, bro. Blown.
LUKA DONCIC could be double fisting a cigarette and a beer on the court, and he's still giving you 39-8 in the playoffs. He just took you to the finals. Like, this is complete, like, asinine behavior from the Dallas Mavericks. You big-brained it to a fault, Dallas. He just took you to the finals. This idea of, like, oh, defense wins us championships. You built a top 5 defense around LUKA DONCIC post-trade deadline last year. Like, you're acting like a championship team has never insulated a poor defender. Look at the Warriors with Stephen Curry. You think he was a lockdown defender and they just said, oh, no, we can't win around him? They put great defenders around Stephen Curry. They won a championship. You guys just put great defenders around LUKA DONCIC and you won a championship. Remember the last big European star that won a championship that wasn't a great defender? Oh, yeah, Dirk Nowitzki. What team was he on? This idea that it's because of his conditioning and being a poor defender. LUKA DONCIC averages 67 games a career for like his 7 years in the NBA. He's like played less than 60 games, never. His lowest is 61 games. Like, yes, he comes into the season out of shape. That's been a problem. You know who else does that? Nikola Jokic, a 3-time MVP who led a team to a championship already because they optimized around him. I'm sorry, Europeans have great food and great beer and they enjoy their summers, so they come in a little out of shape. They eventually take care of it. Luka Doncic is still a perennial MVP player. This is about a new ownership group there that doesn't want to pay this guy $345 million supermax in the coming seasons and don't want to commit to him because of that. And they just wanted to pivot and save some money. Like this, I don't understand beyond that. Like the idea of Kyrie and AD together is awesome. Like that is a good pairing. That is fun. They can be a decent, good team. But to strip yourselves of 10 years of a perennial MVP style player that, again, is 25, locking in opinions about a guy at 25 years old is insane because he is not in his prime yet. Is he ever going to be an elite defender? No. Can you find more ways to build around him, which you've already given up assets to do, by the way? So, like, I think that's possible. I think there's a way that you can work with the guy. Like, even if he was going to leave eventually, I don't think he's giving up $345 million. He probably gets a supermax deal, requests a trade like every other NBA star, and then you go from there when you have more leverage because he's under contract. I don't buy this. Like giving up a guy, like you've already given up all your trade assets to build around Luka Doncic. You barely have any picks. And now you're going to have AD and Kyrie for what, like 2 to 4 years? And then what? When those guys are done and their careers are over, you have no future assets to continue and reset. Like this is incredibly short-sighted thinking for at best a chance to go to the finals. And oh wait, Luka Doncic just took you to the finals. Like this doesn't make sense. If you're the Lakers, oh my God, Rob Pelinka, you are getting a statue outside Crypto.com Arena. The Lakers were bad for 3 years after Kobe Bryant, and they said, no, we're never doing that again. We got LeBron, we got AD, and now we have Luka Doncic for 10 years. What the hell?
This is incredible. I was so happy for this because right behind LeBron, like Luka's my second fave. So I was like, let's go. But Luka could rob a bank the night before. I don't care. You don't trade him because of PR. You don't trade him under any circumstances unless he requests this trade. He took you through the West, apparently out of shape and on one leg. And he was dropping the most efficient triple point doubles you've ever seen in your life. He had the most efficient 70-point game in the NBA. I really don't know the thought process behind this. Like you can make the excuses of, yeah, he's tubby. He doesn't play defense, but look at Jokic.
You build around that.
Exactly. Jokic just doesn't have the best defense. Jokic is not the most in shape. But did they just trade him because, he's not serious? I really think it has to come down to either a money thing or they just didn't like him because this trade is probably the biggest mess up by an organization I think I've ever seen in my life.
It's one of the most shocking things. And like these are very, very different situations what I'm about to say. So like I don't want to compare them. But the last time I remember looking at my phone with my jaw dropped and being like, there's no way this is real, this has to be fake, is the Kobe Bryant tragedy, like the accident that happened with him. I remember looking at my phone being like, what are we like this has to be a fake rumor. Like that it's that level of shock, that level of just complete like nonsense where you're like, I don't understand. This can't be real. That's how dramatic this deal was. And that's how little anyone believes. The fact that Shams had to go 4 times and reiterate like, yes, this is real because no one would believe it. 2K wouldn't believe it. Literally, this deal makes so little sense from the Dallas Mavericks. It is the most ridiculous thing. And another thing that makes it even more crazy is, and Kyle, like you mentioned, like, oh, maybe they didn't like Luka and the relationship wasn't there. They knew Luka was going to want to leave in a couple years. Well, then open him up to the highest bidder. What was this back alley transaction where you gave Rob Pelinka this crazy, like this leeway to make this deal where he like you apparently gave up all your leverage because you went just to Rob Pelinka and the Lakers. They didn't have to give you Austin Reeves. They didn't even give you both of those first round picks that are potentially sought after. And by the way, those picks mean a lot less because the Lakers have Luka Doncic now, and they're probably not going to be all that bad for the next couple of years. But you end up just making this deal with the Lakers. There's reporting that maybe they called another team. Again, Dallas was initiating talks about trading Luka. Bizarre. But Nico Harrison, the GM, literally just said, like, oh, yeah, like we just wanted the deal for Anthony Davis. We didn't want to talk to other teams. Why the heck not?
All right.
Like, yeah, open it up to the highest bidder. Put Luka Doncic on the market, and I am positive you would get a better offer. No disrespect to Anthony Davis. Top 10 player in the league. Very, very good. He's been healthy the last 2 years, quite frankly. Ironically, he's injured right now, and so is Luka, but he's been pretty healthy for the most part. I get it. He can pair well with Kyrie Irving. Respectfully, you can probably get more than a 31-year-old Anthony Davis and one first-round pick for a 25-year-old Luka Doncic in the prime of his career. I think you can do it. I'm being honest.
Like, two things here. Number one, you build a statue for Anthony Davis right now. That man brought the Lakers a chip, and he brought them Luka Doncic.
Fair point.
Number two, Rob Pelinka somehow turned Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and I forget whoever else was included in that trade into
Josh
a chip,
Hart, I think,
and Luka Doncic. So he might be in the running for the greatest front office of all time right now, because but what's crazy is the Mavericks approached the Lakers about this. It was even like Rob Pelinka's like, is Luka available? Because no one would have thought that he's available. And now I know the fans are like, okay, but what's this got to do with the Raptors? This is what I want to ask you now. This is a hypothetical. If the Mavs came to you and said, what are you offering as the front office of the Raptors? Who are you offering? Everybody on this team? Or are you keeping it just untouchable as Scotty? You can take whoever else you want. What's a realistic trade package looking like?
If you're smart, you start low. If you're smart, you start low. You say anybody but Scotty. That's being low. If I'm being honest, that is being very low. If they don't budge off that, I love you, Scotty. I'm sorry, you're not Luka Doncic. I think Scotty has the potential. I'm gonna get so much hate for this, and I don't even care. Scotty Barnes is an incredible player, an incredible two-way player. He is 2 years younger than Luka Doncic, and does anybody realistically right now think that he is going to be able to take this Raptors team or a Raptors team to the finals in the next 2 years? Like, obviously team building matters and things happen, but like the offensive upside just is not at that same level as where Luka Doncic is right now. Dude is a perennial MVP player, 38 and 9 for the most part. Like, those are like more or less his averages, and it's higher in the playoffs. I love Scotty Barnes. I would do everything in my power to make this deal happen without including Scotty Barnes. But if you want an all-world player, which the Raptors, quite frankly, outside of trying to draft one, are probably never going to get in free agency unless it's, again, like that Kawhi Leonard situation where they made a deal for a disgruntled star, which, again, wasn't free agency, it was a trade. Like, that would be the only way to go about it. So, like, yes, like I would do everything I can to get Luka Doncic if I was the Raptors. I don't get this, man. Like,
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
Like, what was the conversation like between the like Nico and Rob? Like, Nico calls Rob and he's like, "Hey, Rob, I want to inquire. Can I have Anthony Davis? Oh, he's not on the table for Luka Doncic. Oh, okay, Anthony Davis will be on the next flight out." Like, that's basically how that conversation.
And then he puts the phone on mute and they go start popping bottles and champagne.
Yeah. like, bro, like, were the Lakers just that annoyed with Anthony Davis wanting a center? Like, Anthony Davis is like, "Hey, can we trade for a center? I want to play 4." They're like, "Yeah, buddy, go play with Derek Lively. We're gonna get Luka Doncic."
He said I wanted a center, so we're gonna send you to America Airlines Center. There, you can go over. Like,
my God.
I don't know. Like, it's like you said, there are 20, 28, 29 other NBA teams. You could at least open I guess they didn't want it to be like public. They didn't want it to make it public that Luka was on the board, because imagine the rain of fire coming down on the Mavericks right now. The Mav fans got to be on life support right now. If you're on that Reddit, it's like it's a wasteland over there.
World War III probably going there on Mavs Twitter and Mavs Reddit. But look, it's crazy. We're reacting, and I know some people may have questions that, like, hey, this is a Raptors podcast. We want to talk about the Raptors. Very valid, very fair, but I think the reality of this deal is that it will have massive ripple effects. Yeah. Kyle, you touched on it. Look, the Lakers need a center. You never know how the Raptors can get involved. Masai Ujiri is an incredibly opportunistic, like, president and like front office manager. He loves making deals when other teams kind of are in situations that are tighter. So you never know how the Raptors can get involved. And at the end of the day, this was the first time that two reigning All-NBA players were traded for each other midseason. The first time that two 25-plus point per game scorers were traded for each other. This is historic. There will be ripple effects, and now we're just going to have to see how the Raptors get involved in those ripple effects and what happens. But I think we're going to stop with the other team talk there. We will put timestamps, so if you didn't want to hear about the Lakers and AD and Luka and all this stuff, you don't have to. You can skip ahead. But we are going to transition back to talking about the Raptors, Kyle. And I think one of the big talking points, obviously, is their floor general is back. Emmanuel quickly returned from an 8-game absence. He was out due to a hip and groin issue, but he returned against the Chicago Bulls. Limited minutes, only about 15 minutes played. He was on a minutes restriction. But what did you make of IQ's return?
I mean, he was a +5 on the floor. He was hitting his shots 3 for 5 from three. I don't mind it. It's like, but it's crazy to see what is the stat now with all our starters like playing. We're 0 and
0-5.
5.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see that, I guess maybe, or you could say like they didn't play Boucher. We're trying to tank. We're trying to lose this game on purpose. But it's just kind of interesting to see when quickly plays, we don't win against the Chicago Bulls. I feel like at this point, you're beating the Wizards, you're beating the Pelicans. Might as well just beat the Bulls at this point. Why all of a sudden say, okay, let's tank? He did his thing. He did his thing. He showed us what Emmanuel quickly is capable of, and I guess when the minutes restriction comes off, we will see that kind of point like taking control of the floor, less on Scotty for making the plays. But overall, it was solid. It was a solid outing. I don't have too much to nitpick about him. It was just interesting for me to see that we're losing to the Bulls all of a sudden when quickly does come back.
Yeah, look, I'm with you in the sense that it was a positive return. Yeah. I hazard to say I was satisfied with it. I think I would like to have seen kind of, again, quickly be a bit more of that floor general that we're really hoping for him to be. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt with the fact that he is returning from another long injury absence. What I found interesting about his return is that he had this really fast twitchiness to his play, especially early on, where he was just like, the decision making had to be immediate. Like if I wasn't looking to score, I was going to move the ball. And you saw it against the Nets, but it was a little different. Early on against that Nets, when he returned from that 20-plus game absence, he was really just looking to distribute. Like, again, it was still that fast twitchiness, but it's like, I'm going to get my guys open. I'm going to move the ball and make the extra pass. And like, I'm speculating here completely, but like he was coming back from an elbow injury there. So maybe he wants to see how he can move the ball and pass and stuff. And then here's coming back from a hip and groin issue. So maybe he's looking to be off ball more, how he can curl off screens and stuff like that. So maybe that's why he's more focused on his scoring. Again, totally speculating, but he had that fast twitchiness. He was looking to score. The shot was falling. He was working that in-between game a little. Like, he even got a floater to go early. He scored the Raptors' first 5 points. I think they made the most of his very limited minutes. And you're right that like they are now 0-5 in Emmanuel Quickly's return. I know last week when the Raptors were on this hot run, I was like, look, the defense completely falls off when Emmanuel Quickly plays. That's just what the numbers say. This wasn't a great example by the numbers because they gave up 122 points to the Bulls. The Bulls have the 16th ranked offense. It doesn't look great, but I will say, I don't think this is the game where you point to and say, look, Emmanuel Quickly played and the Raptors defense crapped the bed, because he only played 15 minutes. The Bulls, quite frankly, just caught fire from deep and were hitting a lot of shots. And I think a lot of the rest of the lineup was more responsible for the miscues. Guys like Davion Mitchell, Jakob Poeltl, and Scotty Barnes were put in some very, very tough positions because other people were gambling. They were getting blown by a lot. The rotations weren't as sharp. Like, it was great that Jakob Poeltl had 5 full blocks because players were being funneled to him, but he had so much of a burden on him. And then Nikola Jokic was doing his thing as well. Nikola Vucevic, was doing his thing against the Raptors as well. So there was a lot on his plate. Davion Mitchell only did so much. His impact was a little stymied. Same thing with Scotty Barnes. Even though he had a pretty good game, he finished like with a 0 plus minus in a 12, was it 16-point blowout, something like that. So the fact that he wasn't even a major minus means Scotty Barnes was impactful when he was out there. It was just a lot put on the main other guys, and I don't think Emmanuel Quickly, this is the game where you blamed him for that. It was just the Bulls were really hot, and the Raptors defense wasn't as cohesive as they have been for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. The Bulls caught fire. They had seven players in double digits alone on 50% shooting with the entire team. So there's nothing you can really blame. Oh, this is Quickly's fault, because again, you're only playing 15 minutes. There's not really much you can do in that situation. Like, again, it's not his fault. I'm not going to come down on Quickly and say, yeah, this is the reason why we got to get him out of here. We got to start opening up trade rumors for Quickly. We need a bigger sample size. We need at least
that's a big part.
It's like he's only played less than a quarter of the season so far. So we need
10 games. That was his 10th game. That's
exactly. I want to see it. Maybe maybe asking for a full season with a full lineup is asking too much at this point. But I would just want a bigger sample size to really justify, okay, do we need to move quickly? Is he really our point guard of the future? How does some of the other players fit in here before going forward? Because it's just too difficult to say right now, because he's even on the minutes restriction in this game. So like overall, and again, like I know we touched on it briefly, Chris Boucher and Kelly Olynyk,
that was a big talking point.
They did not play in this game, and now the rumors are flying around. They're buzzing around. Are we trading Olynyk? Are we trading Boucher? It's looking likely. What do you think?
Yeah, like I don't know what else to make of the fact that they didn't play against the Bulls. And again, at the time of recording, the Raptors are about to take on the Clippers. We don't know if they're going to play or not. We're going to see. But that Bulls game, it was very telling. Those two vets did not play. They lost that game after 5 games of the Raptors that won in a row. They had won 7 of their last 8. And one of the biggest catalysts of that success was a very impactful bench. Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, Chris Boucher all looked like they were on form and providing value. And was it an idea of like, look, we've upped these guys' value. We can probably go on the open market and get a bit more than we were expecting because we put out this good stretch. So let's not ruin it. Let's put them on the bench. We got a couple morale boosting wins, and now it's back to business. I don't know. Again, this is all speculation, but is that what the front office thinking? It's hard to think otherwise because why else is Chris Boucher not playing? It was this idea, like I think Darko talked about, like wanting Jacoby Walter to get a couple more minutes and kind of changing the rotations a little bit. Orlando Robinson being like on his second 10-day, he wanted to see a bit more out of him. Like, sure, that's nice in theory, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to win games, that stuff shouldn't matter as much. And clearly, the Raptors have an objective, and it's not necessarily winning games. So it's hard not to see this as a tanking move. Look, Josh Lindbergh tweeted this out, and he basically put the numbers very clearly. In Chris Boucher's last 11 games, the Raptors bench is collectively a plus 121. They average over 40 points per game as a bench unit, and the team's record in those 11 games that Boucher has played are 7-4. Again, that's per Josh Lindbergh. But in the last 3 times where Chris Boucher has been a DNP coach's decision, the Raptors bench has been outscored collectively by 82 points. Their average drops down from 40.5 to 24.7 points per game for bench scoring. And the Raptors are 0-3 in those last 3 games that Chris Boucher has not played. Like, it's very obvious how much of an impact he has on this bench unit. And if you're not playing him, your bench is very likely going to get outscored, and it doesn't help your case in terms of winning a game. So I think that's what this is. Like, the Raptors know what's going to happen, and they're okay with it because they have a greater objective, and it helped themselves. Because look, now you're a game further away from the Bulls in the lottery race. They're still in the bottom 10, but now you jumped into the I guess not bottom 10, top 10. You jumped into top 5 for the lottery odds. You're tied with Brooklyn. You're a game and a half back of Charlotte for the 4th best odds in the lottery. I think the Raptors are very happy with that, and not playing these vets kind of accomplished what they wanted.
I think, yeah, overall, like, we see how much of a impact Boucher makes on the game, and Darko knows that too. Like, if you choose not to play him, you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly that you either don't want to tank his trade value, you don't want to win this game. So we know what's moving forward. And as we said earlier in the Luka talks, now some discussions, and the gears are turning in Masai's head right now. Okay, can I make a play for maybe even on the Maverick side for Lively? Trading one of our bigs for Lively. Can I make
at least ask?
Exactly. Lakers need a center. Can I move either Boucher, Kelly, or even Jakob at this point? Because, those guys are not going to be on the championship or contending Raptors team in the future, we should say. Maybe we can move them for someone who can help us, get to that point. And I feel like it doesn't make any other sense not to play him for these reasons specifically. Like, Boucher makes such an impact or such a help with our bench and scoring and making a difference with, reboosting morale or coming on and getting that hustle energy. And he's playing great. He's playing fantastic for these last few games that he was playing. So it doesn't make any other sense to me, but we are planning to move Boucher or Kelly Olynyk soon. For who it is, I just don't know yet. I don't know who they want to move for, but I do feel like a trade is coming for one of them, and it's going to be sad to see Boucher go, but hopefully, Masai's cooking up something in that front office right now.
Yeah, look, I think they're mostly in asset accumulation mode. You hopefully, whatever they do, they end up getting some picks or something out of it. And you're right, it would be sad to see Chris Boucher go, but just as we learned with this Lakers Mavericks deal, that it's a tough business, it's a cold world, and I don't think Chris Boucher wouldn't have seen a trade coming. So I think he would be okay no matter what happens. He's a crazy professional. Like, he is super poised all the time. Everyone talks about Chris Boucher's work ethic, and he's just this awesome go-to player for them. So will it be sad? Yes, but I think both sides understand why it makes sense. Hopefully he can go to a contending team. And if the Raptors want to get better value out of Chris Boucher trade, take that Josh Lewinberg tweet and those numbers and just DM it to every single front office. This guy impacts bench scoring to a crazy degree, and he's super, super meaningful to any bench roster. And would that be great for the Raptors long-term? Yes. Is he reportedly open to staying? Yes. But can the Raptors use that value and that addition of draft capital more? Also, yes. So it's just one of those situations where I think it would make sense for both sides.
Yeah, no, I agree definitely. It just depends who we're getting for. And I want to say too, like with the trade deadline coming up, and I know we talked about it last week. What's worrying me is I'm not seeing any news about old Bruce Brown over there because I don't know if we're
That's a good
planning on
point.
re-signing him if we don't move him. I know I saw you talking to one of the commenters last week on the video about
Yeah.
why we should let him walk, but I don't think we should let him walk because that might be the worst possible decision we could think because it's like you said at that point we traded Siakam for Bruce Brown and whoever else, and we're letting him walk, and I'm not even hearing his name fly around in rumors right now. So unless he plans to resign magically, I don't, I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what we're doing on that end.
Yeah, like in reference to what you're talking about, we had a commenter in our last episode run it back, basically talk about this idea that like, oh, you're not losing Bruce Brown for nothing. You're losing him for the flexibility of a roster spot, getting his $20 million dollar deal, which is in the last year of, so his expiring contract off the books. That's what you're losing, and then you have the cap space and the flexibility to make further moves. Completely valid. The thing is, the Raptors have not and will not be a free agency destination. The only way they have any chance of that happening is if you have a perennial star player in a Victor Wembanyama type who people want to flock to play with, like LeBron James in the past. Raptors currently don't have that. I love Scotty Barnes. Maybe he can get there. I don't put it against him that it can happen. There's a chance. Right now, doesn't seem likely that he's going to have that kind of cachet. And then the next part is the Raptors and the city of Toronto. They'll have to get that stereotype away from the NBA where people complain about this idea of the weather, taxes, all that kind of stuff, having to go across the border, use your passport more, all that jazz. That's against the Toronto Raptors. I don't think those perceptions are changing anytime soon. So the Toronto Raptors just will not be a free agency destination. So that flexibility is great. You can make mid-level moves, but you're not going to be able to make those significant piece-adding moves that you would want with that extra space. So that's the thing when it comes to like, I'd rather get something out of Bruce Brown than this extra flexibility, which is better than nothing, what this person is saying. So I think that's the thing. Like, you traded Pascal Siakam, you get two guys who are out of the league in Kyra Lewis and Jordan Nwora. You get a middling first round pick, and then you get like 60 games of Bruce Brown.
Yeah.
When the Lakers just got LUKA Doncic, I know it's not the same thing, but like my point is like if you're gonna look for like value deals, that's the type of value deal you're trying to make. You be opportunistic. Mikal Bridges got you 5 first-round picks. That's a more likely like a comparison. So you have to either get some kind of haul of picks. Pascal Siakam just made the All-Star team again. He is an All-NBA type player. Like there was much more value to be gained out of that. You waited too long. The situation didn't work for you, but you clearly didn't leverage it as you could. And then if you let the third player in there who's been with you after the other two guys are already out of the league, you let that guy go for nothing. When you look back on that deal, it's not going to look pretty. I don't think the idea of having flexibility is going to be enough to justify what little you got from a Pascal Siakam deal. Even if it's just a second round pick, it's better than nothing. And I think the Raptors just need to ultimately recoup more value out of Bruce Brown.
No, I agree. And like before we jump over to the 905 here, just touching on this, like I know I could see what that commenter was trying to say, but
I get it. Yeah, I get
like
it.
but we got to realize too, it's like, and something we got to stress too, the Raptors aren't like the Toronto is not a free agent destination. As much as I love the city and I love this place, a lot of other NBA players don't realize like it is a lot of stereotypes around the city. So even if we did have the money, it would be extremely difficult to pull like you said, a high value free agent piece. We have to make trades for them. We have to make a move for them. And once you have somebody like a Bruce Brown who can really help a contending team and can give us good assets for those teams, why not make the trade? Especially when you gave up one of your best players for him. You need to turn that into something. There is letting him walk should not even be an option. That should not be on the table at all.
Like, and you can get to flexibility after the fact. Like if you trade Bruce Brown, get a second round pick, but then you take on an expiring deal or like a bad money contract that expires in 2 years instead of Bruce Brown's expiring deal now. Like get a second round pick out of it, take on some of those guys. In 2 years, you have that flexibility you wanted anyways. Like you know what I mean? Like you can get to that point while also trying to recoup some value. Squeeze as much out of this as you can is my point. Like at no point should they just like put their hands up and just be like, you know what, we're done with it. We tried. It's over. Like that's it. We're okay with it. No, this front office should not do that. You try and try and try. And at the end of the day, if you have to settle for a lower bargain thing, it's better than zero.
And I honestly think Masai just would never do that. Like, I feel like it's
Yeah.
just not possible in my mind for him to let Bruce walk for nothing. Like nothing. That just it doesn't compute in my head. That would be we would get clowned for that. It would be up there with just horrible trades, and we'd come down on the team for that. But overall, that's what happened this week with the Raptors. A lot of things churning with that trade deadline approaching. It's gonna be crazy. But those boys down in the 905, Zulfi, I know you've seen they've been doing pretty well. Pretty well.
Hell yeah. Look, I'm glad that us here at Raptors Republic just spent so much time covering the 905 because it's been such a fun week for them. They went 3-0 this week. They've now won 4 in a row, and your Raptors 905 are 2 games ahead of second place in the Eastern Conference. Yes, they are atop the East. They had some very fun games where they beat the Birmingham Squadron, the Memphis Hustle, and the Motor City Cruise. Against both the Birmingham and Memphis, they had some fun comebacks. Against Birmingham, the Raptors 905 led very big, very early. I believe they were up like 15-20 at one point. Birmingham makes a run in the third quarter, even taking the lead for up to 7 points. But then the 905 just buckle down defensively, get the proper stops, and get that win. Against Memphis, they were down by 12 after the first quarter. They buckle down, kind of take care of things, and kind of reiterate where their strong points are and come up with the win. Motor City, much more like regular, just not cruising to a win, but they took care of stuff and got the W in that one. But I think my biggest takeaway from these last couple 905 games is just specifically on the Raptors rookies. Like Jamison Battle and Jonathan Mobile have been awesome in the G League as of late. And I know I've teased it that I'm working on a piece about Jonathan Mobile's time in the G League, and I'm going to get to it in the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be really fun, I hope, for people. But you're seeing it in real time. This guy is just taking so many more of these opportunities to do things. Against the Memphis Hustle, a season high, 24 points. He hit 3 threes in that game, just catch and shoot corner threes. Point of attack defense was there as well. Like Jonathan Mobile is really trying to be that impact player. Coach keeps describing him as like this monster he wants to see come out. And we're seeing that more and more. His teammates are starting to call him that. They think he's one of their anchors on defense. And he's just one of those guys that has a lot of an impact, even when it doesn't show up on the box score. And Jamison Battle, dude, this guy might have the prettiest jumper I've seen in person myself. That guy does not care who's in his face. Against Motor City, yeah, he went 1 for 6, but he still took his shots. He was still like trying to be as impactful as he can out there. Against the Birmingham Squadron, I think he went 5 for 6 from downtown. Like this guy, like it comes and goes sometimes, but he's just willing to always take those shots. And then when he's not, he's putting the ball on the deck, trying more stuff. When I was at that Birmingham game, I asked Jamison Battle, like, what has really been working for you lately outside of just being that 3-point shooter? He said, my defense. He said, defensively, I'm more confident now than I've ever been. Like, I'm getting those reps. I asked him, like, why do you feel that confidence? He's like, I'm getting those reps. I'm able to go out there. Coach is empowering us to do more stuff on defense. We're more in sync because we have more reps with each other. And because of that, like Jameson Battle is now getting more comfortable on the defensive end. Jacoby Walter said the same thing when he was done with the 905 a couple weeks ago. These rookies who we're hoping see more NBA time in the second half of the season past the deadline, like they got some very valuable learning lessons while they've been with the 905. And I'm very keen on seeing how that translates to the NBA level because so much of it has been about them defending and what they can offer outside of just their main skill sets. And we're hoping we start seeing in the NBA soon. But in the G League, we are. Like the sample is there.
I honestly think Mobo can be something truly special in the NBA. Like I feel like a lot of people besides the Raptors are sleeping on him because of just how incredible, like just looking at how incredible he is on defense and now on offense too. Even that one game where he had 24 points, he had 8 rebounds, he had 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He is everywhere, all over the floor. And I've been singing Jamison Battle's praises lately. Overall, just love seeing his confidence. And he said it right there, like. Even on the defensive end, it's just he exudes that confidence. Even when he's not having the greatest game, and this is something that's always so important for me. If you're not having the greatest game shooting-wise, you don't let that get to you. You still find ways to impact the game other than, okay, if I'm missing shots, okay, maybe let me find my spot. Let me find ways to get open off the ball or help out on defense. You don't just kind of turn it in or shoot it in and say, I'm not having the greatest game. A lot of these guys have been hooping. Even AJ Lawson in one other game, he had 30 points. I believe
30 points. It was the same day he was announced to the G League Up Next game, which is like their version of the All-Star game. He comes out that very same day and drops 30.
And there's so everyone's just hooping on this team. And I was gonna ask you too, like something I'm curious, like if you could only bring one of these guys to the Big Boys Club, who would you bring personally?
Honestly, maybe this sounds controversial, like because I know some people want to see what Ulrich Shamshay can do, but I think he's growing really well at the G League level, so I don't want to mess with that. By the way, he's added that push shot to his game. I know we talked about it a bit, but he does it like every game now, so it's pretty cool to see Ulrich Shamshay kind of add that. But look, it would be Jameson Battle. Like I'm not
Mhm.
going to go two ways about it. I think guys like Jonathan Mobo and Ulrich Shamshay, even like a two-way like AJ Lawson, I think they all can take so much more from this G League time, and I want to see them continuing to build their confidence in the G League. But Jamison Battle is just so perfect to be just a plug-and-play guy in the NBA.
Mhm.
We know what he is as a shooter. He can put the ball on the deck when he needs to. He's starting to pass with more confidence. And on defense, he is moving his feet very well. He does not really get left on an island. He's not picked apart on defense very much at all. And he's able to keep up. If he can be a consistent defender at the NBA level, his three-point shooting ability is just such a need for this Raptors team that I think it would make an immediate difference for them. And it would just schematically help them in so many ways because of what Darko's offense is able to generate. It's been like we've heard this story in the past. The Raptors offense can generate quality looks. It's just being able to convert against them. That loss against the Bulls where they were just getting outshot because the Bulls caught fire. How useful would it have been to have Jameson Battle's three-point shooting in that game just to keep up with the numbers mathematically? I think he's a guy that like you already know what type of player he's going to be and where he can project. And that's going to be useful now. Versus like Jonathan Mobo and Ulrich Shamshay, there's just such a higher ceiling there that you need to unlock still, I think they could use more of those reps at the level down there because like they can experiment with them more, quite honestly. Ulrich Shamshay, like again, he is very raw offensively. He's adding more to his game, like I mentioned, but there's more you have to figure out how he is as a screener, how he is as a navigator through traffic. Jonathan Mobo is being put as a point of attack defender constantly. And those have been some very challenging tasks for him. He's a great defender. He can disrupt things, especially inside and moving around. But guarding these small, shifty guards is quite a lot to ask of Jonathan Mobile. But the thing is, the 905 keep asking him to do it because they want to see him get those reps. So they're going to keep experimenting there. Whereas Jameson Battle, like, I don't think you need to try all those other things as much because you kind of know where he fits in already. So I think for him, it's like, let's get him up to that level now. It'll be interesting. He only has about, like, I think 17, 18 games left on his two-way contract before he does need to be converted. But like we're talking about, if the Raptors do sell some of these vets, whether it's Kelly Olynyk, Chris Boucher, he can fit into that spot very easily if they need him.
No, I agree. Like too, like if I had to choose one, it would be Jamison Battle overall. And I believe you said too, like if you had to be like in the 905 or like the G League, you have to be good at one thing really well if you want to get called up. And he's great at stretching the floor and shooting the ball. And you could pretty much put him on really any team with his skill set. And I feel like he'd fit right in. I mean, immediately he'd fit right in, especially on the Raptors, contending teams. You know, you always want someone that can stretch the floor, play defense. You know, they don't need the ball to be effective. They can get open without it. And he's showing that he can do that. Like overall, I feel like he is the most NBA ready out of everyone else. And, you know, I do love Mobo, do love all these other guys down at the 905, but, you know, getting reps is what's important for them, developing overall. And Jamison Battle, I've seen it before. I've seen him play in a Raptors game before and score like 3 threes in under a few minutes. Like he's able.
He's always ready to shoot, man. Always.
Exactly. I've seen him exude the confidence on the bigger stage, you know. So it's not like he'll shy in these moments. I've seen him do it. So overall, 905 have been great. I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to add about the boys over there, but they've been rolling. They've been rolling.
Yeah, look, if you haven't been watching the 905, I urge you. Like we said before, Raptors Republic offers the best coverage for the Raptors 905, doing it more than anyone else, better than anyone else. We are putting in so much time and effort to this team, and it's so nice to see them kind of putting in that effort and playing successful, positive basketball. Again, they are first in the Eastern Conference. We are like they played 15 games. The regular season is only about 34 games, so we're getting near the halfway mark. So this isn't a small like burst. The Raptors 905 have had a couple win streaks now of 4 to 5 games. They are just a very, very like competitive team. So I urge you guys to watch them. Most of their games are on YouTube, so give it a shot there. But I think that's all we really need to touch on for the 905 for this week. They have been just cooking. But going back to the Raptors, things are not going to be so easy for them this week if we look at the schedule ahead, Kyle. They start the week with a home back-to-back on Tuesday and Wednesday, taking on the Knicks and the Grizzlies. And then they visit the number 1 and number 2 teams in the West in OKC and Houston. So that's number 3 in the East in New York, number 3 in the West in Memphis, then number 1 and 2 in the West with OKC and Houston. Brother, that is a tough stretch. Look, I know people were worried about the Raptors tanking odds because they had won 5 games in a row, 7 of last 8 they're dropping, but this next stretch of games is tough. They also take on the Celtics in a couple weeks, the Cavs in a couple weeks as well, and these are three of these teams, other than the Knicks, so like the Grizzlies, the Thunder, and the Rockets, they're both top 10 on both sides of the ball. This is going to be a tough stretch. So if you wanted the Raptors to rack up some losses, you got it probably, Kyle. What are you looking out for this week?
This is definitely going to be an 0-4 week. Like I don't see them beating any of these teams. And if you do, what are you doing? Like what are you trying to prove here? Honestly, I'm just looking forward to see if we have a fully healthy lineup against OKC. I want to see what Darko can kind of cook up against their defense. You know, a lot of people have been questioning Darko, and I just want to see like, okay, OKC best defense in the NBA. I know we've kind of already seen how they go against one of the best offenses in the NBA. So I'm kind of curious to see that really. And you know, if the Raptors can hit the lines and make a back end deal like the Mavs and somehow get SGA on this team, you know, maybe trade Scotty out of nowhere. Like if anything is possible at this point. But you know, overall, just I don't expect much from this week. I just want to see how we play against a defense like the Thunder. Like that's where my expectations are at this point. You need to lose this week. We should get an 0-4 week. If we beat any of these teams, I don't know what we're here to prove. Like I don't know what we're doing.
Like, I think the Raptors have picked up enough morale-boosting wins. I don't think they need to prove, like you said, they're not proving anything by winning some of these games. Is it fun? Can you try to carry it moving forward? Sure. If you get a win this week with your full starting lineup, at least you can help the record. That's 0-5 when you have all of Quickly, Barrett, Dick, Scotty, and Yak like playing together. Like, sure, you can go 1-5. That's great, and it's nice to see them kind of build on that. But my biggest thing is just don't get embarrassed. Like, really, like. The last time you played the Grizzlies, what'd you do? You gave up like 155 points or whatever the heck it was. The last time you played the Celtics, you lost by 54 points. I know you're not playing them now, but you're going to play them soon. Like when you're playing these top teams, no one is coming out there expecting you to win a lot of these games. No one's going to be mad if you lose a lot of these games. But when you start getting embarrassed, that's when questions start coming up about like, oh, does Darko have the locker room? Why aren't these guys trying on that end? Like you can lose, but no one thinks you should be losing by that much. This team is not great as presently constructed, but they are not the old school Charlotte Bobcats process Philadelphia 76ers bad. I don't think anyone thinks that of this Raptors team. So like just don't get embarrassed in these games. Keep it competitive. If you already know what the strength is of most of these squads, see if you can exploit some stuff like you have in the past with some of these top teams. What can you keep up with? Like you said, Kyle, OKC and Houston are two top defenses. OKC's number one defense in the league, obviously. So just keep up with them where you can. Even if you lose, just don't get embarrassed.
Yeah, but, you know, like at the beginning of the season, you know, the Raptors were tanking properly. We were having competitive losses.
Yeah, go back to that.
Everything was happy. Like let's not chew it in here. Okay, let's at least compete at the end, and you know, at a point, just be like, okay, let's lose this game because the upside is way more better in the future than just winning one game. Because it doesn't make any sense. And I hopefully like along this week too, we start getting the rumors start picking up about if the Raptors are making some moves with Bruce Brown or Boucher, and we kind of know what's going on there. But overall, yeah, like they just competitive losses. That's what I want to see this week.
Yeah, look, I won't say it's going to happen for sure. Potentially a lot is going to happen in Raptors land in the coming days and in the coming weeks. The trade deadline is just a couple days away. February 6th is when all the action goes down. And as the Lakers and Mavericks prove to us, it's already going down. Just absolute bonkers stuff happening. Let's see if the Raptors get involved. And if they do, you know we will be back next week to recap it all. But that does it for this week. We want to thank everyone who tuned in to another edition of Run It Back, where we recapped everything in Dinoland. And look, we'll be back next week. If there are trades, if there's not trades, we'll still talk about it and react. But until then, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel for Raptors Republic. A lot of great content there after every game, obviously. It's your daily fix for coverage. RaptorsRepublic.com is also your go-to spot for analysis after every game and for news and opinions. Like we said, Cody is at the game against the Clippers, so he will have a post-game piece in the coming hours. So please be on the lookout for that and show it some love. It's his first time at a Raptors game as credentialed media, so a big shout-out to Cody for doing that. We're super excited for him. But that'll pretty much do it for us. For myself, Zulfi Sheikh, for Kyle Ramnarine, we'll be back next week when we run it back. Peace.